Welcome to Ask the Experts, an award-winning daily live show from 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. to help small businesses. If you have any questions to ask, pop them in the comments of the live feed. And if you need any more advice, join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. Accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7. During the live session, we'll be running a poll, so do engage with it. And at the end, I'll reveal the results. I'm Victoria Sheppard, and I'm a co-founder and co-director of Queens of Mayfair. We are a luxury and artisan coffee shop in the heart of Mayfair, central London, and we opened last year during the middle of the pandemic. Previously to owning Queens of Mayfair, I worked in luxury marketing, and those specifically in the hospitality sector with the likes of Fortnum Mason and Michelin star restaurants. And throughout the discussion today, we'll look at opportunities for your business, such as getting involved with online digital platforms to promote your offerings, and looking at innovative ways to market your business, specifically if you're in the luxury sector. Other things we'll be looking at today are the target types of publications, journalists, and your target demographic. So who the clients are you want to engage with, and is it mass luxury market, or is it more of a niche area that you're heading to? And is it localized to a part of London, for example, or is it nationwide or perhaps even global? And something we'll discuss in those topic sectors is if you have a niche product or service, to look at the influencers, not based on their number of followers, but targeted macro influence, and looking at the concentrated demographic and followers that those particular people of influence have. And the same absolutely applies to the publications that you want to work with. In terms of the publications, journalists, and influencers, we'll discuss how you can look to get in touch with those people and what the best approach is for that. The other opportunities that we'll look at with marketing your luxury business are identifying brands with the same values and same standing within the sector for collaborations, and also an organic sharing of your client database. An example of this would be if you were looking at collaborating with car brands and you're looking at levels of luxury. Are you looking at BMW, Mercedes, and Audi? Or are you perhaps looking at McLaren, Rolls-Royce, and Bentley? So different levels of Hi, sorry for the technical interruption there. Um, the next thing we'll look at is niche products and services that you're offering and how you can get your business online and infiltrate your local, global, or national market space. And that could be a simple tip from making sure you're fully registered with all of your up-to-date business details on Google Business, through to having an active social media page and ensure you're engaging with your customers and not only interacting with people in your local area or potential customers, but also responding to queries or potential sales inquiries through all of your digital platforms. So having a regular time to check into all of those and make sure that you're not missing any opportunities. Something else that's really important within the luxury sector is staying in touch with your customers once you've managed to get the data of their email address or number or to connect with them on social media, is looking at the best possible ways to then connect with your customer on a basis that's not too frequent or infrequent for them, and how that marketing ties in with perhaps a CRM system. So whether you've got a sales system that takes the customer's shopping preference, or if it's a restaurant or hospitality business, have they got a favorite table? Have they got any allergies? And just making a note of the customers. When you are in the luxury sector, people are paying extra for that level of customer service, and they want to feel like their investment in the brand is being appreciated and acknowledged. So welcoming them back and knowing where they want to sit, what they do and don't like, and perhaps offering their favourite drink will go a long way with that customer. Also data that you could collect, things like their birthdays and perhaps sending them a special offer, a discount, or just even an acknowledgement is really lovely. Perhaps if they're a particularly high spender, gifting is particularly prominent, as again, that's an opportunity for you to draw on their social media following, as undoubtedly they are going to share that with their followers. Other opportunities in normal non-COVID times to market your luxury business are obviously events and getting people together, and obviously being as innovative as possible with those, but also making them very targeted to your customers. So what experience can you offer them that's going to be a memorable one and also be aspirational for potential customers as well? So where are you trying, who are you trying to attract, and are you going to draw potential clients in by saying, wow, I really want to go to that event, or potentially wow, they really look after their customers, and my friend got sent a lovely gift on her birthday or at Christmas time. So points of engagement throughout the year are definitely something to look at. We'll shortly be taking questions, so if you have any, please do pop them in the comments on any of the social platforms. So that's through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and LinkedIn DMs, or you can write them in the comments and they'll be sent through for live answering very shortly. They'll be coming through directly to myself. The first question that's coming up is from Simona via Instagram DM, and the question is: promote the founder or promote the brand? When you're doing PR, what do you focus on? That's a really interesting question, and I think potentially it entirely depends on what your company is and what you're doing. So if the founder has a presence within the sector, or a really interesting background, or a story that's led them to the business opportunity, I would absolutely say that's part of what your PR strategy should be. And it could be, in my instance, I have a hospitality background, and we introduced the most Fairtrade coffee and the most expensive coffee and the best to London. So that was about an existing relationship, knowing the hospitality industry, but actually it's the product you're offering and why someone wants to purchase and buy into your brand. Ultimately, you'll create the brand and you'll choose as an owner or founder whether you want to be part of the brand in a public facing role, or whether you want to be totally anonymous. So that really is a personal preference. With many brands, there's no acknowledgement whatsoever to who owns the business, or very, very under the radar, and that's absolutely fine as well. But sometimes with a particularly prominent owner, it can be good for a small business due to the fact you can really get engage with the audience that you've already got, who already know you and they're interested in following you. And if you've got a good following on LinkedIn or Instagram, for example, having those people or friends that support you, other business owners or people generally interested in what you're selling, and they can see, this person is putting their heart and soul into the business, and you're doing something really interesting, and they're following your business journey, then promoting the founder, I think, is a brilliant idea. And you can also go down the route of potentially business articles, or if you're a female in business, are you looking at newsletters aimed at women such as Sheer Lux or the Handbook, to kind of get your message out there to an audience that can relate to you. So I hope that's helpful. Next question is from Vicky from Twitter DM. Hi Victoria, PR depends on relationships. How do you go about it? Have you managed to build relationships with journalists? If so, can you share some tips, please? I don't have any contacts in the world, but would love to get my company in the news or in a magazine. So there's a few angles to this. The first one is you've got to have an interesting story or something that the journalist is going to want to write about. So if you've just launched, I don't know, a handbag or a car, what is it that makes your products stand out? What is it that makes your journey interesting? What have you done that's different from what's out there in the marketplace already? So perhaps go with building a generalized press release, or if you've got a specific product that you want to get out to market, then include that in there with images and things. And then you can do a notes to editor section within the press release, which is just a paragraph or two on the background and history of your company. I don't know if it's a new business or an existing one that you've got, long-standing business that you own. And Instagram is actually a really, really good place to engage with journalists, or LinkedIn actually, and you can send them a very nice message and just say, hi, I saw that you write for Tatler or Daily Mail or Forbes. I've got a new business or an existing business. I wonder if our products, services, etc. may be of interest to you. And just start off by engaging or commenting in anything that they're doing. For example, if they're posting up an article that they've had published, you can react favorably to that and just start building a dialogue. And perhaps dependent on your business and also COVID, welcome them in for a coffee or a glass of champagne, or perhaps even, say, can I send you a sample of my XYZ? But the key thing here is to really remember to only contact journalists that write in the field that that is potentially relevant to your business. As I myself have been on the other side and done a bit of writing in the past, and sometimes you'll get completely bizarre press releases or requests that are totally irrelevant to anything your publication or you would write about. So actually think, you might want to be in Forbes or the Daily Mail, but is that relevant to you and your company? If it's not, there's no point being in there for a purely vanity purpose or reason. It's best to actually go for a publication that could enhance the sales or the profile of your company. So really just think and make sure that the two match together. Don't be pushy, but journalists do love to be gifted items. So really put thought into packaging, presentation, and perhaps do a handwritten note or something if you are going to deliver them a product, and also follow up. And if there are potential events in the future, you could perhaps invite them along to those. So press breakfasts or lunches, afternoon teas, etc., are really popular, and that's not just if you're in hospitality. It could be that you're launching a skincare product or fashion spring summer collection or something. People really do go to town with theming these types of hospitality events. So the other thing I'd say is be persistent but patient as well. Don't annoy the journalists. And I would just say, in terms of influencers, I've never personally gone down the route of paying any influencers. I always make sure that the buying into the brand is authentic and it's something that the person of influence actually believes in, rather than something they're paid to say that they like. So I hope that helps. Frederick from Facebook Messenger. Good morning. How are you preparing for opening up after lockdown? I'm so looking forward to getting back to some type of normality. Hi, Frederick. We are preparing by organising our summer menus. So when we were last open in December, obviously everything was a bit heavier, a bit more wintry, and we use seasonal produce. So we're doing menu tastings in a few weeks' time. We're looking at drinks partnerships, and we'll be getting in touch with kind of all of our third-party contacts and suppliers in the coming weeks, just to make sure we're back up and running on our loyalty app Embargo, on Supper, which is one of our delivery partners, on Deliveroo, just to make sure all of the menus are fresh, and just taking note of the seasonality of the ingredients and produce we use. And in the coming weeks, we'll be restarting staff training and just making sure that everyone is being as mindful as possible to the COVID situation, and making customers feel as welcome as possible when we reopen in May, as we don't have any outdoor seating, so we're waiting a little bit longer to reopen. Thank you for your question. The next one is Amy from Facebook Messenger. Hi, Victoria. I have an electronics store and currently focusing on my digital efforts, i.e. website and digital reach. Can you give me advice on how to go about creating a good PR kit that I can circulate to journalists? So a PR kit would be a general press release that you can send, which is probably an A4 PDF, just giving background history. What are your USPs? When were you founded? Where are you based? And alongside that, notes to editors about anything special you've got coming up, when your reopening dates are. I would also create a WeTransfer or something similar. So a third-party digital link to any high-res images if you are contacting magazine journalists. They're less so needed for online and website content. You can get away with lower resolution, but just be careful you're not trying to send loads of high-res files via email, as quite often they'll get stuck in a junk mailbox. I'd also say just make sure you follow up with press contacts. You know, if you've had contacts with or an email from someone 6 months, 12 months ago that they're interested in what you're doing, do always follow up, because they may well be writing another article, or did they write about you last Father's Day or last Christmas? Make sure that you're in there ahead of your previous deadline, so that you know, you're top of the list for any future potential coverage. And I would say, you know, if there's something interesting you can do in terms of, you know, reaching out to them by sending something in the post, if you have the budget to do so, yeah, really focusing on, do you offer super fast delivery or something? That's a particular thing that I personally find really appealing about if I need to order something online, is actually getting the product quickly, especially with electronics. So hopefully that helps, but a PR kit shouldn't be too extensive. People just really need bite-sized chunks, a couple of paragraphs, and then just highlight your key information. So thank you, Amy. The next one is Johanna from Twitter DM. Great to see you back. What have you learned from launching a business in the pandemic that you wish you knew maybe a year ago? I think the pandemic's a constant learning curve. It's probably one of the biggest lessons is to be flexible and adaptable. Because if we had said, you know, we're closing the doors as we can't do kind of our sit-in bottomless brunches, or we can't do our V60 filter coffees through our takeaways, and also to really push on. So we've been very fortunate and successful with our hamper offering. So that's been for corporate events like Zooms, or work meetings, leaving parties, birthday celebrations online, through to thousands that we gifted on behalf of our clients over Christmas. That was anything from hedge funds to hotels, luxury businesses, PR agencies, and adapting and actually saying, okay, so we're not going to take many reservations this December, but let's bulk buy hampers and kind of take that opportunity instead. So I think, yeah, be kind of watch the market carefully, see what your competitors are doing, and yeah, always look ahead and make changes quickly, catch up with your team on a regular basis. And I guess it's the other thing to take from the pandemic is to stick with your vision and what you believe. So definitely don't compromise on your offering just because, you know, there's some inflexibility with how you can trade at the moment. So if you are going to do a takeaway service or a postal service, make sure that it reflects how your in-store, if you have an in-store type environment for sales on a usual basis, make sure that that experience is reflected to anything you're doing digitally or by other means of delivery. So hopefully that helps you. Kenza from Instagram DM. I've tested a loyalty program a few years ago and it didn't work out. Do you have any advice on how I should think when building a loyalty program, and how what has worked well for you? So we've been working with an amazing company called Embargo from the beginning, and it's effectively a digital loyalty stamp, and a few of the benefits are that you can send push notifications out to your customers. There's no kind of getting around things with those annoying paper cards that lots of coffee shops have used in the past, and they're a lot more eco-friendly, which is also important. But I tried and tested so many kind of behind the scenes before we opened, so many loyalty programs, and finding one with the functionality that suits your business is really, really important. So there's no point in having one if you can't utilize it. And we can kind of the benefit for our loyalty system over, say, a traditional paper loyalty card is we can contact our customers through push notifications. We can do incentives. We do things, not just a free coffee after so many stamps, but we will do complimentary cocktails and things. So it's a really, really good incentive for the customers. And just try and have a think about what you're trying to get from the app. See if, again, who's on there. Are they your peers? Perhaps you can have a chat to them. If you want to message me directly about Embargo, be very, very happy to speak to you about our experiences there. And the other good thing about loyalty apps is just keep in touch with whoever you do use, and let them know when you've got a cool drink or product launching, or if you've got a special offer on. Maybe it's Black Friday and you're doing 2 for 1 on cocktails, something like that. And they can push that on their social media. And good loyalty companies will also have connections with influencers, as well as Embargo do for us. So quite often build those relationships with your loyalty provider, and it will pay dividends to your business. And it's worked really, really well. The other good thing with the app is you can actually go on, see who your repeat customers are, see what they're spending, and actually draw quite a bit of data that's really helpful from that particular marketing app. Our next question, or final question, is from Cosette from Twitter DM. I'm currently looking to hire my first 2 employees. What should I think about when hiring people for my company? Do you have any top tips? I'm nervous as I've never done this before, and it will be a huge responsibility, but I'm also excited. Well, Queen's was the first time that I've personally employed people and taken them under my payroll, and I think we started off recruiting over about 12 people initially, so went from 0 to 12 straight away. It is a huge responsibility. You do need to look at things like pension contributions, tax, NI, all of those things. Look at how much holiday you're going to have, and actually there are some really good digital systems out there that can keep track of things like the hours people are working, when they're checking in, when they're logging out. I'd say one of the good things to do with recruiting, and I certainly did this in the initial instance and got some great employees that are still with us a year later, is put it out through my current network. So even on personal Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, do you know anyone that's looking for a job? Can you recommend anyone? Because there are some companies, brilliant firms, that have had to lay people off due to the current climate of the world, and and they will recommend good employees to you. So that's one way to kind of do it without paying recruitment company fees. Otherwise, LinkedIn, Reed are really good websites to advertise on. It may also be worth, if you are a new and small company, have a look at apprenticeships. So, or perhaps even one of the two. Look at apprenticeships. There are government schemes available that give you financial incentives for taking on young people or apprenticeships. So that may be something to look at. And also just make sure that that person holds your core values. So if you want a very warm, welcoming person, ensure that your employees convey that, and most importantly, feel like you can trust them as well. We're now going on to the poll results, and we asked you, have you ever sacrificed anything for employees? And 33% of you said yes, and 67% of you said no. I personally have, and as has my sister. We're co-founders of Queens in the last year, and we've sacrificed our own salaries and things because we weren't eligible for furlough when we first opened, and we weren't allowed to legally trade due to COVID guidelines. So whilst we weren't able to take, we weren't eligible for government furlough, we had no revenue coming in as we hadn't actually opened, but we had staff that we had taken on all in good faith before we knew what COVID was. We decided to pay our staff out of our own funds because they had obviously put their faith in us and it wasn't their fault. So that was absolutely a financial sacrifice to them, and always just try and be understanding. If someone has a family funeral or wedding or something to go to, always try and be considerate, because we've all been on the other side of that. So that's the end of our discussion today, and I want to thank everyone for tuning in. You're very welcome to get in contact with me via DM on Instagram or LinkedIn. It's Victoria Sheppard on LinkedIn, and it's SHEPPARD. Or Queens Victoria on Instagram, and follow Queens of Mayfair on Instagram and Twitter. Coming up on Ask the Expert tomorrow is Rachel Martin, founder of Accountant She, a female-led accountancy firm that specialises in working with female entrepreneurs, influencers and business owners. Tune in tomorrow and learn about the IR35 changes that will come in place after April the 5th and what that means for your business. Don't forget to join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB group on Facebook. Accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7. Really enjoyed answering your questions again this morning, and have a great day. Thank you.